So today, day one of the trial, both sides laying out their cases in opening statements. We had a witness testify as well, and Court TV legal correspondent Chanley Painter was in the courtroom all day and is joining us from Akron tonight. Chanley, can you lay out for us why? The theory that prosecutors have, like I understand Chad Cobb, right? His motivation was he's in the custody fight, bitter with his ex-girlfriend, and they shared this child together. So Erica Stefanko, why are they saying that she would be involved in all of this?
Well, based on the key opening statements and even the first witness that the prosecution called to the stand, the theme seems to be that Erica Stefanko hated Ashley Biggs just as much as Chad Cobb did back 8 years ago when allegedly she had a role in Ashley Biggs' murder. We heard from the prosecutor Felicia Easter this morning as she outlined recorded phone calls allegedly between Stefanko and Cobb's mother, Cindy Cobb, who we expect to hear from tomorrow, allegedly confessing to her part in calling the pizza order. And she said, yes, she did what Cobb asked her to do, but it wasn't like he was holding a gun to her head or making her do any of these things, that she did them willingly. And we heard from Brittany Dunson, the first and only witness of the day for the prosecution, the girlfriend of the victim at the time of her murder, who testified about emails between Stefanko and the victim, Ashley Biggs, saying that I will kill you, I will rip your head off, those kind of things. So it seems to be that there was a lot of acrimony, not only between Cobb and Ashley Biggs, but also Stefanko and Ashley Biggs.
Well, let's take a listen to that. And again, Brittany Dunson is the name. This is the victim's ex-girlfriend or former girlfriend, or girlfriend at the time, right? When she was murdered, they were together. So we're not going to see her, but we're going to hear her because she opted out of being recorded on video. But let's take a listen.
Ashley Biggs and Erica Stefanko. Can you describe their relationship for the court?
I just know that Erica had said some things to her before. I don't think they had much contact. It was mostly through Chad or through emails. Okay. There weren't very many verbal exchanges.
And you said through email. Were you able to view or read some of those emails, or did Ashley tell you about some of those emails from Erica Stefanko?
Both.
Okay. The emails you were able to view and or read or were told about, will you please tell the jury about some of those?
It was Erica causing threats.
You said Erica what?
Making threats.
What type of threats?
Telling Ashley that she would rip her head off, shove it up her butt, and that she would kill her.
Very emotional, Chanley, and I can understand it. But it's many years later, but still, you could tell, even without even seeing her.
Oh, you could tell definitely. At one point, Vinny, I know you couldn't see her face, but I was in there in the courtroom and she was wiping tears. She was, of course, was wearing a mask like everyone is in the courtroom, but she was wiping tears. And it was especially at the point of her testimony where the prosecutor put on the screens all over the courtroom photos of Ashley Biggs, photos of Ashley's daughter, and fond memories. And when she was testifying about that, she had tears in her eyes. You could tell it still, even more than 8 years later, that this is a very fresh wound in her life.
Now, so she was in a relationship with Ashley Biggs. Ashley Biggs was in a relationship with Chad Cobb. They broke up. Chad Cobb's then in a relationship with the defendant here, Erica Stefanko. So they're sort of removed from each other, but let's take a listen to some of this testimony because it seems that there was some sort of incident involving Dunson, right? Brittany Dunson and Erica Stefanko. Even though there's like no direct connection to them, it's through people that they had relationships with. But something happened. Let's take a listen.
You were also asked on cross-examination about the chase that you talked about with Erica Stefanko from the school and picking up, and the police may not have considered it noteworthy. Did you consider Erica Stefanko's, the defendant's actions that day noteworthy?
Absolutely.
Did it cause you any concern or make you fear for your safety?
Yes, it did.
So, I mean, to me, that makes it very clear that there were problems, right? You have two different couples, and they should be, they're together with someone that presumably they love or like, and there shouldn't be any this interaction, but it's all focused around the child, right? The battles were always over custody of the little girl.
Right, and I think the prosecutor said it best in opening statements, Vinny. She said, here's Chad Cobb, Erica Stefanko over here. Here's Brittany Dunson and Ashley Biggs over here. And stuck or caught in the middle is this minor child, this daughter, and this really battle back and forth between these couples. And an example of that was played out in Brittany Dunson's testimony this afternoon about this alleged chase after Biggs exercised her temporary custody, picking up her daughter from school, and then Erica Stefanko allegedly chasing them out of the school down the road. They called the police, and during that back and forth with the prosecutor asking, well, the police may not have thought it was a big deal, but you did. You were scared. Ashley was scared, and she said yes. And I have to say, Vinny, at that moment, one of the jurors in the gallery, they're all spread out, one of the jurors in the gallery nodded her head in agreement like, yeah, I could see why you would be scared.
Yeah, and you wonder, like, who could be capable of committing a murder, right? That's always a hurdle I always feel that prosecutors have. You're taking people and all, the 12 jurors, I'm sure none of them ever seriously considered murder. So what does it take to get over the hump? What kind of person? And little stories like this, I think, are very indicative and kind of give you an insight into what's going on. Like a chase? Like what is going on? That's not normal stuff. Now, let's get to Chad Cobb because he made an appearance in court. They didn't testify in front of the jury, but was questioned by the judge. Let's see how that went.
Is it true that you are confirming that you will be providing testimony against Erica Stefanko tomorrow?
Yes, ma'am.
Saw a little reaction there, Chanley, from Stefanko while her ex is saying he's going to testify against her. That's an interesting moment, really interesting, because they were married at that time, right? And then they got divorced once he got locked up for the murder?
That's right. In fact, I was watching her most of the day, Vinny. That was the only time I noticed a reaction from her was when he was on the big screen in front of her talking to the judge, confirming that he was going to testify against her, and that was her reaction. She nodded her head in disdain, disagreeing. It really goes along with what we heard from her defense attorney in opening statements, which was clearly pointing the finger only at Chad Cobb, that he's now this ex who's scorned ex-lover, ex-husband, because she divorced him and then moved on to apparently his best friend that worked for him, or they worked together. So it was an interesting moment inside the courtroom, and like you said, the jury was not in there. It was just between the judge, the attorneys, but still a big moment to see a reaction out of the defendant.
Yeah, so when he testifies, that's going to be another big moment. Now, explain for us how all this is taking place, because it's obviously not a normal setup, right? We're in a whole different world right now. And each courtroom we go into is doing things a little bit differently. First, the witnesses. Are they wearing masks? Did the live witness, they wear a mask, or how are they doing that?
Yes, they do. So most of the witnesses, if they aren't testifying over virtually in a room by themselves, or Chad Cobb, for example, even though he was remote from the prison, he still kept his mask on because I guess that was a procedure there. But today, the one witness in person, Brittany Dunson, kept her mask on even though she was at the witness stand, and there is a bunch of plexiglass all over this courtroom for safety precautions. It's something like we've never really seen in a courtroom. Plus the jury's spread out throughout the jury box, spread out throughout the gallery, even brought in some extra chairs there for the gallery for the alternate jurors, and plexiglass all the counsel table everywhere to make sure safety precautions are in place. And they also have a COVID-19 task force that will come in to the courtroom. In fact, every time the podium is used, there's someone that has to come and clean the podium. Every time the jurors get up and leave their seats, the person comes and cleans every seat that someone is sitting in between when they get up, when they come back. So All the precautions are being made today, but for the most part, everyone keeps their mask on, even though they're talking inside the courtroom, even the judge at the bench.
Very different. I mean, very different. We've seen, again, hearings and things done in different ways. This is the first one, I think, where everyone is wearing a mask. But the audio was very clear for me, so I was able to hear everything that was happening. I presume it says good inside the courtroom. So what's in store for tomorrow inside that courtroom?
Vinny, tomorrow is going to be a huge day for the prosecution. Key witnesses all day long. We're expecting the morning to be taken up by the mother of Chad Cobb, Cindy Cobb. She's the one that the prosecutor told the jurors today has this 3-hour phone recording between her and the defendant, Erica Stefanko, where Erica virtually, allegedly, confesses to her part in Ashley Biggs' murder. Cindy Cobb is also the guardian of Cobb's daughter and Biggs' daughter that will also testify most likely in the afternoon after school hours tomorrow, Vinny. But again, the state's star witness, Chad Cobb himself, the co-defendant in this case, will testify after lunch tomorrow from prison. So again, jam-packed full of key testimony tomorrow.
All right, Chanley Painter on the ground in Ohio. Thank you so much, Chanley.